Hi everyone. In this video, we'll check on higher order functions in SQL. So generally, when we deal with array, we will use explode function and we will filter the data. But using explode function results in Cartesian or it will have high memory usage. So in this tutorial, we will see what are the other ways we can do a array manipulation in Spark, and we can do array manipulation with key four functions: transform, filter, exist, and reduce. So transform, as the name says, it takes an input array function and then it will apply a target function. Say for example, I have an array 1 2 3, then it will do a multiplication, say for example, right? So transform, what it will do is, say I have an input array 1 comma 2 comma 3, and then I have a function. See, the function says, right, if there is a value x, do in x into 2, right? It will basically iterate the given elements and then it will create an output array. So this is what transform will do. So filter is simple. So filter, what it will do is, it will take a same input array, right? Say assume we have an input array, right? It will say, we are saying, right, like give me only the odd numbers, right? So if I put x divided by 2 equal to 0, then my output will be basically, it will just give me sorry, if it is not equal to 0, then it will give me 1 and 3, right? So then exist function, so this will check if a given predicate exists. Say if I want to say, right, whether instead of narrowing down, if I want to just see whether odd or even exist in this array, it will just give a true or false. So for each of the element, if it is an odd, then it will give a true, or else false, and then true. So this will return the original elements, whereas this will give just a true false for the corresponding condition. So reduce will do a sum up. So if I do a reduce, and if I say, right, in the reduce, if I say do a sum, then it will do 1 plus 2 plus 3, right, which will be 6. So it will make output. So this is high level overview of how these functions work. Now let's see in detail. So about the data. So in this case, right, I'm taking a markup PR review from Azure DevOps repo. So this, let me load this data and then I'll explain the data. Yeah, so if you see here, there is a commit id, there is a commit comment, and then there is a commit date, commit name, and mainly we'll deal with the notebook function, right? So the notebook array is an array. It will take the type of entity, whether it is a notebook or what kind of data it is, and then assume the change type. So change type will be edit or add or update, right? It will be depending on your PR or the commits, it will be a different. Say for example, right, if it is an edit, it will be an edit. If it is a delete, it will have a delete, and if it is an add, it will be an add, right? So and then we have the reviewers. So reviewers is again an array. So this will give me who has approved the review, right? Now let's see the functions in detail, right? So first I'm exporting all the functions. So all these functions are available both in the PySpark SQL API as well as in your normal DataFrame API. So the transform function, right? So in this case, let us go with a scenario, right? So I have an array. So in this array, right, I want to understand, right, how of this request, right, whether is there any delete happening or is there any new notebooks which are getting added, right? So let's see how we can use transform function to do this, right? So what we are doing is, we are taking this transform. So we will take this notebook. So let us take one notebook array, right? So if we copy this notebook array, right? So what we are essentially doing here is, right, we are basically saying, uh, take t is nothing but each of the elements. So I have 1 2 3. So for each element, I'm saying apply a case condition. So in the case condition, I'm saying, if the change type is edit, or sorry, if the change type is add, then 1 else 0, right? And then overall I'm doing a then same goes for delete. If it is deleted, then it is a delete or it is a non-delete, right? So let us check the output first, right? So let me comment this one. So if you see here now, uh, yeah, so if you see here, we have an array. Let us take one of the rows, right? So here we have three notebooks, right? So edit, 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 all these are edits, right? So if you see here, you will see all these are zeros. Why? Because none of this is add. Whereas in the last one, I have three which are all add, right? So effectively what we are doing is, we are basically checking if the edit type of the notebook, right? Say if multiple notebooks are changed as part of a commit, I want to know how many are new notebooks which are added as part of the commits, how many are delete, how many notebooks are deleted, right? So the transform function, as you can see here, it takes an input array, apply the transform, say in this case a case statement. So in that case, we are checking the change type is add, then 1 else 0. So it is making the transformation, and then you could see here, right? But we need an overall indicator. So what I am doing again is, in the next step, right, which is an extension of the previous step, right? What we are doing is, we are basically, see, now we have an array, right? Now I'm doing an array match, so that I will know if any of the notebook is edited, or if any new notebook is added, or if any new notebook is deleted, any notebook is deleted, right? So I'm putting an array max. So this will take this array and then take you the max value. So if I run this one, okay, so if I run this one now, let me comment the upper portion, and then let us run the second half, right? So here we are essentially doing the same, but we need to identify how many are added notebooks and how many are deleted notebooks. So we get a nice indicator. So out of this 5 comments, in 2 of the comments we could see some added and deleted notebooks. The other comments are just edit of the notebook. So no new notebooks is added, right? So now let's see, right? We want to find out if a particular notebook has been edited in our case, right? So what we can do is we can use this exist function, and this exist will give me a true or false, right? If, for example, it will iterate the array, and then it will give me whether particular values, if a condition is satisfied in that array, then it will give a true, or else it gives a false. So let us run this one. So I will get a value exist. So here it is saying true, true, true. Why? Because okay, let me remove this filter. Yeah. So we are, as this definition says, it takes an input array and it has a function which takes this array and a particular logic, and finally it gives back a boolean. So that boolean will be a true or false, which will be based on this predicate. For example, if any one of this notebook has an entity like analysis, then this will return true, or else it will return false. For example, in this 5 rows, right, in the first row the notebook name doesn't have an analysis in the name, whereas in the second one we have a name, right, with analysis, right? So for second one it is giving true and the first one it is giving false. So this will help me, right? This is more of a better way to do that, the same transform. So here we did it in 2 steps, but here you could see we can just use this transform function, and what sorry, we can use this exist function, and this will give me exactly, right, whether a particular notebook is present or not, right? Now next up, let's say, right, we just don't need just the true or false, but we need to know exactly, right, whether what kind of notebook has been edited, right? Or is give me all the notebooks only where edit is the operation performed, right? So I might have edit, add, update, right? So this filter will help. So filter, what it will do is it will take the same notebook array, and for each of the element it will check if the change type is basically a edit type. So if you see here, right, we have this change type, right? So change type, wherever it is an edit, only those roles it will return. So as per the definition, right, it takes an input array and then it will gives back a it will return an array which will have only the predicates which are satisfied. So wherever it is a edit is present in the chain type, only those notebooks will come in the output array. So if I go and see here, right, for first three, wherever it is an edit, it is there. The last two are having only add and delete. So if you see here, it is not coming there. So that's the thing. And the final one is reduce. So reduce, right? Initially we will see a simple example, right? So we have something known as a values column. So if you see here, there is a values column is there. The values is nothing but an array. If you see here, right? So we have an array. So in the first example, I'll just show you a simple use of reduce. So I'm just adding the values of that array, and then finally in the merge function, right, I'm doing a division by 3. So what it will do is, let us check the output. So in this case, we are taking the values, we are adding it. So 1 plus 2 plus 3 is 6, and finally we are applying the final function which will do a division by 3. So 6 by 3 is 2, and 3 plus 4 plus 5 is 12. 12 by 3 is 4. So as you can see, right, reduce, what it will do is it takes an input array and it takes the initial value, right? So we are initiating with 0, then it takes a function which will iterate each element. So we are adding the values here, and once we have the final result, we have a merge function which will basically do a final transformation on the overall output. So after we add on the output 6, it is dividing by 3, that's why you're getting a 2, right? So this is more of a silly use case, but let us consider a real-time use case, right? So most of the times what it will do is, some systems, what it will do is it will give an array of maps. So especially some kind of a CDC systems, right? So we'll give the column and the value of the column, and but it will give it as an array, right, of key value pairs, right? But what we ideally need is a single map, right, which will have all the key value pairs. Say I need A, B, C, D as a single map. So what we will do is we will use the reduce function in detail. So let's see the reduce function in detail. So in this case, we have a CDC system which will send the column and the value as a key value pair, but as an array, right? But what we need is an output map which will have all these key and values in a single map. Okay. So let's see how we can use the reduce function to do that. So what we are doing is we are creating an initial value as a map, and we are doing map concat. So this will take each of the element in the array, which is an individual map, and then concatenate it and then give the final map. So if you see here, yeah, if you see the output now, so what I get is an output as a map, right? And that will be a merge of all these individual arrays, right? And let's assume, right, after we create a map, then we have to do some cast, right? So finally I'm doing as a cast a string, right, by using the reducer merger function, right? Sorry, the finish function. So you have two sets of functions. So one will be a function which will accumulate each of the values or reduce each of the values. That's a merger function. And then finally we have the finish function where you can apply something at the end. So in this case, I'm just doing a cast. So to summarize, in this video, we saw higher order functions and how to iterate higher order functions using how to iterate arrays using higher order functions, and we saw the various higher order functions. So transform will take an input element and then it will iterate all the element and then apply the transformation. Filter will basically filter out the elements in the array which are matching to a predicate. Exist will give me overall true or false based on the condition, and if any of the element gives true, then the final output will be true. And reduce will basically do a reduction, right, like a summation. And we see a extended reduce where we converted an array of map into a merged map, right? So that's all I have for this video today. Please do like, share, and subscribe. Thanks. Have a great day.